From 2015, some wonder about Malcolm Turnbull's being good enough to lead the Liberal Party. At the moment, the party is so compromised any individual might have more virtue. However, the Liberal Party is older than Malcolm and will outlast him. Already there are members whose actions will be defined under Turnbull's stewardship in ways that never could have under Abbott, who had to fend off Turnbull. The sad truth is ALP have no one competent to lead it, and no one to replace the incompetent leading it. An aloof capitalist leading the Liberal Party is par for the course. A corrupt bastard boss leading the ALP have exploited workers for money is a joke. Some are resigning from the Liberal Party on principle. None would do that from the ALP. For some, at the moment, the Sex Party has more credibility. From 2014. Terrorists are violent and capable of planning, but not tending to smart. A wise person cautions a young person to prudence, to considering their actions, because escalating an action is always possible so long as one allows the opportunity. It is to do with restraint. Had Hawthorn played the AFL Grand Final with weapons instead of athletic skill, they would not have won so handsomely. But Hawthorn played with skill, aggression and restraint. They humbled Swans, who in previous 11 matches had not conceded a total of more than 65 points each match. The league's most attacking side humbled the league's best defensive unit 137-74. That 74 being one less than the halftime total of the Hawks. But the terrorists don't show restraint, and so what else is there to do but oppose them and stop them? Obama has dithered over a year over Syria, but terrorism has galvanized him to action against those he would have supported last year. And so when terrorists demanding us to stop attacking ISIS, there is no or else they can go to, no reason they can give us to do so. Every ISIS supporter must face justice for what they do. There is no alternative. The media coverage related to terrorism is irrational. A man who is converting to Islam beheads a female colleague, and the media report it as a workplace accident, as opposed to a terrorist event. The difference is stark. Who beheads a colleague over a workplace dispute? It is beyond normal understanding, but a beheading soon after an international call for just that is perfectly explicable. Media are not protecting the public, they are protecting their narrative of events, which is dangerously exposed. Media would have it widely believed that terrorists were Islamic, seeking justice over perceived faults and culture wars. They point to mythic divides and engage in cultural relativism, which suggests that terrorists are just like soldiers of a different cause. But in fact, terrorists are just like anarchists of times gone by. They offer nothing other than a hazy vision of something that will never happen and probably shouldn't. It is exactly like a terrorist shouting Allahu Akbar before gunning down a large number of mostly unarmed colleagues, while Obama is claiming terrorism has been ended by his compassion and appeasement. That wasn't a mere workplace accident either. And so it becomes disturbingly, but explicable, when the ABC present their dangerously unbalanced narrative suggesting terrorism is excusable. Terrorists may not watch the ABC, but they are fed the lines the ABC present to them, and there are myths that support and endorse terrorism. Meanwhile, the Taliban in Afghanistan feed into the narrative, having watched ISIS behead others and claim success. They do too, and the narrative becomes that is what Islamic people do. But the narrative is wrong. It is what terrorists do, and those that disagree with the truth believe the ADL, ABC, and Fairfax press at the expense of those addressing the issue. And a man is arrested for walking with a knife into an Islamic primary school. No doubt he was looking for terrorists. What would he have done had he found a terrorist? What could he have done had he found a lone Islamic child? Not all terrorists claim to be Islamic. Gillard's whining is beneath the behavior expected of a former prime minister, but not beneath what is expected of a corrupt, incompetent lawyer. Palmer is embarrassed by a lack of due diligence regarding $12 million he was supposed to have spent on a port, but apparently siphoned for an election. He must be in very deep trouble with China and Australia justice system. Meanwhile, ABC complain about a champagne deal struck with Cambodia involving the settling of illegal migrants. The ABC would rather drown the migrants. Also, there are allegations of apparent voter fraud. which gave an upset win over Liberal Sophie Mirabella. The electoral system could be made fraud-proof were the electoral system to allow electronic voting and forget the secrecy provision, but make it verifiable. It could be a cheaper system too. This column welcomes feedback and criticism. The column is not made up, but based on the day's events and articles which are then placed in the feed. So they may not have an apparent cohesion they would have had they been made up. The biggest sporting event of the day from the AFL, the Sydney Swans were present for a historic victory. They played with skill and aggression, or rather they were outplayed by it. No other minor premier has ever been beaten so much in a grand final. They are that good. If there had been 4 more quarters, there would have been further humiliation. Swans played well, but Hawks were magnificent.